know we can't stop every act of violence, every act of evil in the world, but maybe we could try to stop one act of evil, one act of violence. So let me outline what we're going to be doing. Anybody in the business of selling firearms must get a license and conduct background checks or be subject to criminal prosecutions. We're going to hire more folks to process applications faster. We're going to do more to help those suffering from mental illness get the help that they need. We're going to boost gun safety technology. If we can set it up so you can't unlock your phone unless you got the right fingerprint, why can't we do the same thing for our guns? Second Amendment rights are important. There are other rights that we care about as well. Our unalienable right to life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness, those rights were stripped from college kids in Blacksburg and Santa Barbara and from high schoolers at Columbine and from first graders in Newtown and from every family who never imagined that their loved one would be taken from our lives by a bullet from a gun. Every time I think about those kids, it gets me mad.
As we venture into 2016, the most dangerous threat to Americans is President Obama's intent to use his presidential action to once again usurp congressional powers and circumvent the Constitution by thinking up new actions this Monday with his Attorney General. Translation? Together, they will chip away at our Second Amendment gun rights. And let's not kid each other. With history as our guide, whenever this president says one thing, we know to believe another. Whenever he does something that makes no sense, we ultimately pay for it. So where does this all leave you? Up a creek, not just without a paddle, but without a gun as well. At a time when we face the biggest threat we have ever been confronted with, our commander-in-chief is on an anti-Second Amendment crusade to take away our guns. Now, in the aftermath of Sandy Hook, the president took 23 executive actions. Didn't stop a thing. California, with some of the strictest gun control laws in the country, didn't stop a thing in San Bernardino. And in France, where gun laws are among the most restrictive in the world, innocents were slaughtered like lambs. Mr. President, the issue is terrorism, not mass shootings. And yet, because of a political agenda, you refuse to confront the biggest danger that we face. Instead of blaming guns, why don't you start shooting terrorists? Now, maybe you don't have time to focus on this because you're too busy emptying Guantanamo and trading deserters for Taliban generals. And as a result of your dilly-dallying in a leftist political ideology, you should be focusing on protecting us and letting us defend ourselves. The police cannot do it all.
Multiple shootings in the area.
Two drive-by shootings last night in Los Angeles left one man dead and two others wounded. So far this year, there have been 280 homicides in LA, up 10% from last year. The number of rapes increased 8.6%, and aggravated assaults jumped more than 27%.
The spike in crime, I don't understand.
All 21 LAPD divisions are reporting crime increases. That's notable because crime had fallen dramatically in Los Angeles in the past decade due to a crackdown on gang-related crime. Police attribute some of this year's crime spike to a resurgence of gang violence this summer. In August, LAPD Commander Philip Tingarides told CBS News about a 2-week span in South LA when 50 people were shot, 15 of them homicides.
Most everything involved gangs in some way, shape, or form.
Since then, the LAPD has stepped up community policing and made 3 times as many felony arrests. Iona Diggs says she's not going to let gangs take back her neighborhood.
Don't say this is your hood, because it's not. It's ours, you know, and I'm going to protect my hood, as you say.
More than 24 former students of Rhode Island's prestigious St. George's School claim they were sexually abused over 2 decades, and they say the school did nothing to help. Ann Scott, who has sued the school once before, says she was raped repeatedly. After the original suit was dropped, she says the school initiated a gag order.
I've been gagged for the last 25 years, and I want to say how damaging those gag orders are. They seal in the trauma. When you're raped, your voice is stolen, your soul is taken away, and all that a gag order does is preserve the institution's reputation and seal the trauma inside the victim, making it that much harder to reach out and get help.
Lawyers for the victim are calling for an independent investigation into the abuse and the alleged cover-up by the school. In a statement, the school deeply apologizes for the harm done to alumni.
A group of pharmacists in Washington state are fighting for their religious rights. They're appealing a ruling that lets the state force them to dispense drugs that may cause abortions, even though that violates their conscience. Last summer, a federal judge panel overturned a ruling that found the state's rules violated the religious freedom of pharmacy owners. The pharmacists say that requiring them to dispense the Plan B drug infringes on their religious beliefs and is equivalent to involving them in abortion. Their attorney says emergency contraceptives are available at other nearby pharmacies.
British veterans of the Iraq War could face prosecution for their crimes in the war-torn country. The head of the Iraq Historic Allegation Team, Mark Warwick, says there are many cases where there is substantial evidence to press charges against the veterans. UK forces left Iraq in 2009 after 6 years, leaving behind cases of murder, abuse, and torture. IHAT has investigated the cases of over 1,500 victims since September 2015, with about 300 of them allegedly killed in unlawful circumstances. Warwick says members of the armed forces could be notified of prosecution by 2019. Critics, though, are urging the team to work faster.
From behind a mask, he gloats, threatens, insults Britain's Prime Minister, calling him an imbecile.
How strange it is that a leader of a small island threatens us with a handful of planes. One would have thought you would have learned the lessons of your pathetic master in Washington.
An execution video which shocked England and appears to present a new version of Jihadi John, the British militant Mohammed Emwazi, who was killed in a drone strike. British Home Secretary Theresa May will not confirm the name of the newly seen British-accented militant in the latest ISIS propaganda video. But tonight, British media are reporting that authorities there are investigating whether it's this man, Siddhartha Dar.
Embrace Islam.
British news outlets report he's in his early 30s, from a London suburb, originally Hindu, who converted to Islam. They report he once sold inflatable bounce houses for children. Dar's name came up several times today during a British parliamentary debate. The Home Secretary grilled about how Dar reportedly had been in the British government's custody but eventually fled to Syria.
The reports concerning Mr. Siddhartha Dar. He was well known to the authorities, having been arrested 6 times on terror-related offences before being placed on police bail in 2014 and requested to surrender his passport. It was when he failed to comply with those bail conditions that it emerged he had absconded.
British media reports say Dar was suspected of being involved in a group called Al-Muhajirun, which has been banned in Britain.
These individuals are involved in protests, they're involved in doing, organising roadshows and stalls around the country, they're constantly appearing in the media, they're constantly attracting attention to themselves. And I think some of the attention they were drawing to themselves seemed to be them actively supporting terrorist organisations.
In a 2015 Guide to the Islamic State, a man believed to be Dar writes about the items available to ISIS fighters. Quote, Snickers, Kit Kat, Bounty, Twix. Yes, yes, we have it all. CNN interviewed Siddhartha Dar in 2011 when he praised Osama bin Laden shortly after his death.
When 9/11 did occur, it forced me to inquire about who this person was, what his message was about, and I realized that this man, he was someone who stands up for the truth.
Now, Siddhartha Dar could be filling a crucial void for ISIS left by the original Jihadi John.
They're a propaganda piece which, among other things, shows that we have someone from your ranks. someone who was raised in your society, who speaks perfect English, who can speak to your audiences, and now they're on our side.